Hi guys, if you don't know me, my name is Brittany. I am a special effects makeup artist in Los Angeles, California. If you do know me, nice seeing you here. I am so excited because today is a really special one. Today is actually a video in collaboration with the one and only Narrative Cosmetics. I have been a big fan of this company for 2 years now, I think. I think about 2 years ago is when I first discovered them, and Lordy, I hype them up all the time. I love their products. I love their team. All in all, they're just an incredible company and deserve all of the hype and the clout and the love and the success, everything. I'm so stoked to actually have the opportunity to work with them and get to know them and build a relationship and really take some time to show you how truly awesome their products are for professionals and beginners alike. So with that being said, let's get into it. Not too terribly long ago, I did do an old age look that I posted on my Instagram and my TikTok using the Narrative Cosmetics Alcohol Activated Palette, and it was great, but it was a two-dimensional, purely painting on the details as opposed to using any prosthetics. So I kind of wanted to take that up a notch this time and go full all the way. Yikes, this looks absolutely terrifying, just holding it up. So we've got a full face and a little bit of neck prosthetic, and then I also got some aging eyelids just because I wanted to make sure that my eyes tied in with the rest of it. I have a wig, I have a costume. I'm gonna be walking you through every single step, exactly what I'm doing, how you can also achieve this at home, and we're gonna have fun. Before we apply anything to our face, you wanna make sure and you start with a clean and dry base. Ooh, that kind of rhymed. Reason being is we wanna make sure there are no oils or buildup or makeup or anything like that that could adversely affect the glue that we will be using. I'm going to be using the Narrative Cosmetics adhesive. This is a water-based acrylic adhesive, and what I like to do is just take the bottle and put a little bit, maybe I don't know, is that half an inch? Kind of looks like half an inch. About half an inch into a disposable cup. It's always a good idea to take the prosthetic that you're going to be using and actually fit it to your face, just to get an idea of where things are going to lay, if you're going to need to make any adjustments, and how well it's going to fit your face. For instance, this is a tiny bit small for my big face, but that is okay, we're gonna make it work. Yeah, I think this is gonna work just fine. We wanna start from the inside working outwards typically, but because this doesn't have a nose, which would be the direct center of the face, I'm gonna actually start on the middle of the forehead and work my way kind of out from there. So I'm taking my adhesive on just a small little sponge that I've cut, and I'm dabbing it onto the center of the forehead. I'm also going to be taking the adhesive and dabbing it onto the center of my forehead. Having the adhesive on both the prosthetic and your forehead, letting them dry down until it's clear, and then putting them together is what's going to create the best adherence that we can possibly get. Now that this is both dried, clear, and shiny, as well as the back of my prosthetic, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the two together. And press down firmly. Perfect. Now that we've got the forehead attached, I'm going to start working on the rest of the face, doing the same thing, starting from the center and working my way outwards. We're going to leave the edges for at the end, and then we'll go over that. And to speed up this process a bit, it's a really great idea to get a hairdryer and actually manually dry it down to that clear and sticky texture that we're looking for. Now that we've got the bulk of the prosthetic laid down, we need to start working on the edges and the smaller spaces. So right here above my lip, the inner corners of my eyes and around, the perimeter of my face, and so on and so forth. So what I'm gonna do is, because that sponge is too large, I'm gonna go in with Q-tips now and the same adhesive and start detailing in on those areas and getting them laid down as well. Now that we've got the entirety of the prosthetic laid down, one of the most important parts is absolutely blending out our edges. So all of these edges right now are gonna look really rough. If I just go ahead and paint over them, you're gonna be able to see where the prosthetic ends and my skin begins. So now we're gonna take more of the adhesive and a sponge again, and we're gonna start going and putting very thin layers over each of the edges, letting them dry down, and doing it probably around 3 times to make sure it's very seamless going into our actual skin. I'm not gonna worry too much about these edges here that are right up against my hairline because I will have a wig that's gonna cover those anyways, which is a fun little trick, is always being aware of where your costume or your wigs are gonna start, because that way if your edges overlap with that, you don't have to spend as much time blending those edges in. So I'm gonna go ahead and off camera add on the eyelids and eye bags, because if you can see, this is all very wrinkly, very textured, and then as soon as it gets to my eyes, I still have my young 25-year-old eyes. But I need to really tie these all in together so that we're getting a really cohesive look, as opposed to just an old face and then, you know, eyes that just, they don't fit in. They really don't. So I'm gonna do this off camera. It's gonna be the same exact process as what I've done here, just on a smaller scale. So I've got the eyelids on, and I'm really happy with how everything is going, except for right down here where the prosthetic ends and my skin begins. We do have this patch where it's just my skin. There's no texture to it, there's no wrinkles, and I don't really like that, so I want to add to it. So a really great way to do that is to take a paper towel, just take one sheet of paper towel and split apart the two plies of it, and we're gonna basically create our own little blender. So from there, I'm gonna tear it. And get just a good size piece that's gonna cover that area, just like that. And I'm gonna leave those rough edges, because those rough edges are actually gonna blend really nicely into my skin. So I'll take this little piece, overlay it where I want to add some more texture and kind of blend that just a little bit more, and then take more of my adhesive and my sponge and just dab it all over the top. Just like that. And that single ply paper towel is thin enough to where it is gonna blend really nicely and seamlessly into my skin, so long as I do maybe one more really, really thin layer on top. Now that our edges are finalized and everything is I think everything's pretty much dry now. What we need to do is we need to take away this tackiness that this glue has left over, because it's going to cause us trouble if we just ignore it and continue on. So what we're gonna do is gonna take a translucent powder, anyone will do, and we're going to go over all of the sticky parts that we have laid down and get rid of the tackiness. Now that we're all powdered and ready to start painting, it's really important that before we go straight in with the alcohol activated palettes, we need to prime our foam latex appliance. Foam latex is very, very porous. Think of like a kitchen sponge. If you put water on it, it's gonna soak it right up. This does the exact same thing. Not only that, but the product that it does soak up, for instance, alcohol activated palettes, water activated palettes, etc., it's going to actually change the color of them. So as it's absorbing it, it's just gonna come across as a bit darker of a shade, and it's not going to be consistent all throughout our whole entire face. If you're balling on a budget, what you can do is you can take your adhesive and do a layer all over the entire prosthetic. Make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies and cover the entire thing. Let it dry and then powder that, and you can start painting with whatever you would like. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be taking PAX paint and doing it that way. What PAX paint is it's essentially acrylic paint. I think I might have described this in my last video. It's a mixture of acrylic paint and Pros-Aid. So what it's doing is while you're painting, you're also priming the prosthetic. So it's a one-step deal instead of a two-step deal, and it saves a lot of time. So that's the process I'm gonna be doing. Now that we have our base of PAX paint on, I mean, come on, it's starting to come together. But as I've said before, it still looks very flat. It's very boring. It doesn't look that realistic right now because we're just dealing with one solid color, and that's not natural. Our skin has many different colors that come with it. There are undertones, there are discoloration, hyperpigmentation. As you age, you get liver spots, sunspots, more moles, freckles. I mean, there's a million different things that can happen to our skin. So what we want to do now is we need to replicate that. So the star of the show, my favorite things that Narrative Cosmetics sells, the alcohol activated palettes. They have 4 different palettes with all kinds of different shades in them, but today I'm going to be using the Flesh Tone palette and the Complexion palette. I love these so much. I recommend them to everybody because they not only are they just wonderful quality, but they're such a good price point. I mean, I believe they're $46 or $48, which is incredible for the size of this palette. How many colors you get and the quality of it is phenomenal. I'm also going to be using the Narrative Cosmetics Activator. This actually came with a squeeze bottle top, but they provided little spray bottle tops, which is amazing because I would have swapped it out anyways, but I love that that was like an option. So what I'm going to do, which if you've seen my last videos, you already kind of know this process, is I'm going to start bringing in some reddish undertones, primarily into the wrinkles area. It's gonna be kind of like a reddish brown. We're gonna start bringing life to this skin. I'm gonna be starting off with the Complexion palette, and I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, which is called Peach. What I like to do is I like to spray directly into the pan. Directly into the pan to get the paint activated, but I also like to have a little dish on the side where I just pour some in, and I kind of use that as my my blending bowl, if you will. I go and I pick up just a little bit more, or I kind of like wash out the paint a little bit to kind of get more of a translucent look where it looks like it's coming from within the skin instead of sitting on top of it. So I'm just going right in on the pan and picking up some of the paint, and then I go into my little bowl. I just kind of mix it up a little bit to get a really thin, you can kind of see on the wall of the glass right here. That's what I'm going for. That's kind of going to be what I'm pulling from. This wrinkle right here, right by my mouth, just going to go right into it and start adding depth. And I kind of want to get it on the walls of the wrinkle, coming out of the wrinkle on the sides a little bit. So I'm gonna just go and pick up some more of the activator. Purely the activator, I don't want any more paint on my brush. And I'm gonna go over the top of it again. And that's gonna thin it out even more and give it this kind of translucent look. And I even like to tap it out with my finger a little bit. Just be careful because the activator is made of isopropyl alcohol primarily, so you do want to be careful because it can be very drying on the skin. You can see here that the main pigment that I just put down is kind of settling more into the tiny little creases as opposed to the wrinkle as a whole, and that's what we want. That's what we're looking for, is we want it to settle into the wrinkles and kind of feather out into the rest of the skin. So we're gonna keep doing that with all of the wrinkles. This is adding depth and really bringing out the shadows that those wrinkles would create on their own, but in a really minimal way. We don't want it to be really harsh because then that's gonna take away from the realism. When you start getting under the eye and just all around the eye altogether, make sure you're being really, really careful because we are working with alcohol activated paints. Be very patient. If the fumes are starting to bother you with the smell or around your eyes, take a break, step away from it. It's very important that you stay very aware of these kinds of products that you are using, because if used incorrectly or without caution, you can severely damage your eye or your nose or your mouth or whatever it may be. Be safe. So I've gone in with the peach tone and really defined these wrinkles. Now I want to bring some more red and purples into areas like under the eyes, around the nose a little bit, maybe around the mouth just a tiny little bit, because those are areas that predominantly have more red pull through. Going into the flesh tone palette, I'm gonna hit these two colors right here. We've got Deep Blush and Capillary. These are some good red tones that I like. And also I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the FX palette, and I'm gonna go in with a little bit of this purple. Using Deep Blush, I'm just gonna go under my eyes and do a lot of the same technique. We're just focusing on the wrinkles, but I'm gonna blow it out into the skin a lot more than I did before. And I even like taking a fatter brush, a fatter kind of fluffier brush with just pure alcohol on it or activator, and just kind of dabbing on top. I think the red looks great, but I do think that we still need a little bit of the purple in it. So you can see we're starting to get a lot more life on this side as opposed to this side. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of texture to this skin. For the final result, I definitely want to be a little bit of like a glam ma, like I want to have a little lipstick, a little mascara, but I want the skin to look very natural. I want to see the kind of like speckles of discoloration, the impurities, freckles, and things like that pulling through. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a speckling technique. Using the flesh tone palette, I'm gonna go in with this brown. I'm going to take this coarse brush right here. You can see it snaps right back into shape. It's very coarse, it's very thick. I'm gonna scrub my brush into it a bit so it picks up a little bit of product, and then I'm going to close my eyes. Make sure you close your eyes or you're gonna get alcohol in your eye. We don't want that. I'm going to close my eyes, or cover. I like to cover one eye and work on half of my face at a time. And I'm gonna just start flicking that paint onto my skin. Leaves this speckling technique, and you can kind of tap it out with your fingers. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna add a really natural finish to the skin. I'm gonna do the rest of my face with this chocolate brown, but I'm also gonna leave some room. I'm not gonna go too crazy because I do wanna go in with some more like pinkish browns, like this warm tone right here. I even wanna go in a little bit with these lighter shades too, to give some variation to the skin. Now we can go in and do some more like fine tuning and some fun little details. Personally, I like to add like liver spots and sunspots and things like that, maybe a mole or so. I'm gonna go in with Hazelnut from the Flesh Tone palette right here. I've kind of let this liver spot dry down a little bit, and I'm just taking my finger with a little bit of the activator on it, and I'm just gonna pat it out a little. Just like that, and I gave myself a little mole right here too. All right, before we get into the next stuff, this is looking a little too shiny. It's just not very realistic for the kind of sheen that skin naturally has. We do have a natural little bit of shine to our skin, but it's not quite this dramatic, unless you have like a bomb skincare routine. Otherwise, please drop it in the comments. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of that translucent powder that I used before, and I'm gonna just coat my face in it. Let's pull the glam into this, and let's do a little tiny bit of eye makeup, a little tiny bit of lipstick, and then let's put a wig on. It is so hard putting on eyeshadow with fake eyelids on. I cannot get into my crease like I normally do. All right, I just need to go get dressed and put my wig on, so I'll be right back. I almost forgot eyebrows. So I'm gonna go in with the 12 color Death FX cream palette. I'm gonna go in with this color right here. It's called Murky Violet. I just want a very small brow. I don't want it to be super full. All right guys, and that wraps up this look, and I am stoked. I look like the kind of LA grandma that should go and get a cocktail at Pump in WeHo. Do I not? Margarita on the rocks, please. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And also I hope you go and check out Narrative Cosmetics. I will have all of their socials as well as mine listed down below in the description. Make sure you go give them a follow, go give me a follow. It's a good time on both of our pages. I will also have all of the products that I use linked down below so you can go and purchase them yourself. And if you do, tell them Brittany sent you. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. It feels so good to get back into this. Everything's opening up again, but please still be safe. Take proper precautions. I know that the mask mandates have been lifted pretty much everywhere, but just keep yourself safe, keep those around you safe, and use your best judgment. Subscribe, like, comment down below how old you think I look. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next time.